If I woke up tomorrow and had to make $10,000 a month from scratch, no audience, no business, no reputation, just me, a laptop, and 90 days to figure it out. And I want to be really specific here because most make money online videos give you vague motivational advice. This isn't that. This is a tactical week-by-week breakdown on how I'd go from $0 to $10,000 a month in revenue. Now, the biggest shift in this approach is that I wouldn't build anything unless I already had people ready to pay for it. And that's the first principle. See, most people do it backwards. They build first and then try to find customers. I'm going to show you how to reverse that and why it changes everything. Here's the mistake I see constantly. Someone decides they want to make money online. So they spend weeks, sometimes months building something. They create a course, design a coaching program, write an ebook. They pour all this time and energy into creating the thing. And when they finally launch it, crickets. Nobody buys. And they're devastated because they just spent 3 months building something nobody wanted. So here's the truth. You don't have a product problem, you have a validation problem. You build something before you confirm people would actually pay for it. And that's what we're not going to do. In this 90-day plan, you don't build anything unless you've already had conversations with real people who've told you they pay for it. You validate first, then you build. And let me walk you through how. Before we get into this week-by-week breakdown, here's the high-level framework. Step 1, identify your unfair advantages. So what do you know that most people don't? What have you done that gives you an edge? This isn't about being the world's best, it's about knowing more than your target customer. Step 2, define the transformation. What results can you help someone else achieve? And here's the key when it comes to that result. You want to help people who have money make more money. Why? Because they have the budget to pay you and they understand the ROI. The worst businesses are selling something that's not related to money to people without money. Now, this example might sound crass, but the worst thing you could do is walk into a homeless shelter and start selling a fitness program. 1, because unfortunately, people at a homeless shelter are not going to have the resources to invest. And 2, a fitness program has nothing to do about paying the bills. Sure, maybe if you target entrepreneurs and sell them a fitness program, that could work, but there's no reason why anybody would want to invest in that because there's no clear ROI. What you want to do is sell something that helps businesses, entrepreneurs, or professionals get a measurable outcome. That's an audience of people with the resources to invest, and also there's a clear ROI. There's a reason why they would invest, because the dollars make sense. Step 3 is to create your offer. You want to package your knowledge into a clear, specific transformation. Not a vague, I'll help you grow your business, or I'll help you get a job, but I'll help SaaS founders write cold emails and book 10 sales calls a month. That's specific, measurable, and outcome-driven. And then step 4 here is you want to validate through conversation. Before you do any work, before you build a course, before you create content, before you launch anything, you want to go ahead and talk to 20 to 30 people. The best way to do that is probably warm outreach, because if you warm outreach to people in your network who are in that target audience, they're more likely to respond to you, but you could even cold outreach. It doesn't matter here. And in your outreach messages, you want to make the conversation valuable. Give them some kind of incentive to respond. And the goal here is to have conversations, pitch your offer, and see if they'll pay. You don't actually have to accept payment, but at least see if there's some kind of interest there, or if they have objections. And if more than 30 or 40 people say yes, you've validated this idea and you've learned more about the market. Now you'll build. If they say no, you ask why, you keep adjusting the offer over and over and over again, and then you try again. That's the framework. Now let's break it down week by week. Week 1 is, like I mentioned earlier, you want to identify your unfair advantages. So you want to sit down and brain dump every skill, every experience, every piece of knowledge you have that someone else might struggle with. Don't overthink this, just list this out. So when I started my YouTube channel, I wrote down topics like saxophone, because I played the saxophone in high school. It was one of my big passions back then. I wrote down ACT, SAT prep. That was an area that I did really well at, and I knew I could teach other people. And I wrote down computer science. So those were areas where I had some level of unfair advantages. For you, it might be Facebook ads, copywriting, sales, Excel modeling, graphic design, anything specific. Then ask yourself, which of these could help someone who has money make more money? And that's your filter. Week 2 is define the transformation. Pick one of those advantages and turn it into a clear transformation. So not I teach copywriting, but I help e-commerce brands write email sequences that generate $50,000 in revenue per month. See the difference? The second one is specific, it's outcome focused, and it immediately tells you who it's for. So you want to spend this week refining your transformation until it's crystal clear. Then you'll want to package that transformation into an offer. And the key here is to keep it simple. So don't create a 12-week program with templates and worksheets and coaching calls. Start with the simplest version possible. A 4-week sprint, a 1-hour intensive, a done-for-you service. So whatever you can deliver in the next 30 days without burning out, and price it. When pricing your services initially, you probably want to start in the few $1,000 range. To some, it might not sound like much at all, but that range is a great range where it's in the medium to high ticket space. It is in the thousands of dollars, but it's not like $50,000 or $100,000 because you're just not at that level to create any kind of value near that high. In terms of finding a price, a really easy rule of thumb is think about how much money the business or person is going to make from what you're selling, and then price yourself at 1/10 that amount. So for example, if you could reliably generate $50,000 of increased revenue for a startup every month through email marketing, you could pretty easily price that at $5,000, if not more. If you can reliably show that this will generate $50,000 or more of revenue over several months. And then once you have proof it works, you can raise your prices. Now, week 4 is to prepare your outreach. So you don't want to actually build anything yet. You want to prepare to have conversation. At this point, you make a list of 50 people who fit your ideal customer profile. Half of them should be warm leads, people you already know, or friends of friends. The other half should be cold leads, people you find on LinkedIn, Twitter, communities, wherever your target customer hangs out. Then you'll write a simple outreach script. Something like, hey name, I'm helping type of person achieve specific result. Would you be open to a quick call to see if this could work for you? That's it. No pitch yet, just have a conversation. And by the end of week 4, you should have a clear transformation, a packaged offer, a price, and a list of 50 people to reach out to. Now, phase 2, days 31 to 60, you want to validate through conversations. Week 5 is to start outreach. So you want to reach to 10 people from your list, half cold, half warm, and your goal here is to book calls. So again, not to sell yet, just to have a conversation and see how they actually react. So on this call, you're gonna ask questions like, what's your biggest challenge with X right now? What have you tried so far? And if you could solve this, what would it change for you? You're listening, you're learning, and you're refining your understanding of the problem in space. Week 6. Pitch your offer. By now you've had a few conversations, you understand the problem better, so now when you get on a call, you pitch. So the way you want to do this is, of those 50 people you connected with, hopefully you had at least 10 to 15 conversations, if not more. In those conversations, it's pure discovery, learning about them, learning about their pay points, learning about where they want to go. Then you go back and design a pitch. These pitches should be custom. Whatever those people's specific pain points are, you want to design a pitch that solves literally every single one. Then you get on a call with them and you sell. So the way you sell on that call is you pre-frame by saying, hey, based on our last conversation, I've actually gone and done a bunch of research and designed a solution that I think could be helpful to you. Is that something you're potentially interested in hearing about? They'll probably be like, yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't be interested in hearing about a potential solution. But before you dive into the solution and pitch, you do discovery again. So you ask them a couple questions, what's your problems, where you want to go, and then you jump into the pitch and you make sure the pitch is 100% tailored for their background, their problem, and their ideal solution. And finally, before you drop the price or anything, you ask them, is this something you're interested in? Or on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you want to work with us or do this process? Only when they're at an 8 or a 9, then you drop the price and you objection handle. Don't expect to close your first couple calls. It will probably take 5 to 10, if not more, before someone is willing to actually pay you the price you've quoted. See, the yeses will become your first clients, but the nos will give you feedback on why they're not ready to buy. Both are valuable. Week 7 here is you want to close your first 3 to 5 clients. Your goal by the end of week 7 is to have 3 to 5 people who've said yes and paid you. That's $3,000 to $10,000 in revenue right there. And more importantly, you validated that your offer works. People are willing to pay for it, and now you can build. And finally, week 8, deliver the transformation. This is where you actually do the work. You want to deliver the result you promised. And because you only have 3 to 5 clients, you can go deep with each one. You can over-deliver, and you can make sure they can get an incredible result, because those results are going to become your social proof. And by the end of phase 2, you should have paying customers, real testimonials, and proof that your offer works. So now we've hit phase 3. Now we scale. Week 9 starts by refining based on feedback. You've delivered the transformation to your first batch of clients. Awesome. Now you ask yourself, what worked and what didn't? What part of the process did they love? What part was confusing or slow? You want to use that feedback to tie in your offer. So maybe you cut a week out, maybe you add a bonus session, maybe you restructure the process. The point is, you're not guessing anymore. You have real data. And week 10 is raise your price and sell again. Now that you have testimonials and proof, you can charge more. If you were charging 1.5K, you can go to 2,000 or 2.5K. If you were charging 2,000, you can maybe go to 3,000. You want to make sure that you ideally want your close rate, which is the percent of people who pay to work with you out of the people you've talked to be around that 25 to 30% mark. If you're closing more than 30% of people, it means your price is actually too low and you should increase it until it's only about 30% of people that are closing. And then you'll go ahead and reach out to the next 20 people on your list. By this time, your pitch is stronger. You have case studies, you have results, and you have social proof, which makes closing way easier. And finally, week 11 is you want to start creating content. Now, not earlier you start creating content, because now you actually know who you're talking to, what problem you solve, and what language resonates. So you want to pick one platform to start posting on. I would actually recommend LinkedIn is probably your best bet, just because it's completely undervalued right now, and there's a great asymmetry in terms of the number of creators versus consumers, and it's all written, so it's very cheap to produce. You want to share your process, share your clients' results, and share what you're learning. This is how you start building inbound leads in the background, so you don't have to do outreach forever. Week 12 is systematize and prepare to scale. Look at everything you've been doing manually and ask, what can I automate? What can I delegate? You want to batch your client delivery, set up email sequences, build templates, work on automating and delegating what you can that's cheap and doesn't really matter in terms of client results. Because the goal here isn't to trade time for money forever. The goal is to build a system that generates $10,000 a month with less of your direct time. By day 90, you should have a validated offer, 10 to 15 paying clients, testimonials, a content engine, and a system that starts to scale. Now, here are the big core principles I want you to take away from this. First, most people spend months building something nobody asked for. They're creating software, courses, physical products, all before they've talked to a single potential customer. The approach I just walked you through flips this completely. You don't build until you've validated. You have conversations first. You sell the transformation before you create the deliverables. And once you know people will pay, then you build. And that's how you go from $0 to $10,000 a month in 90 days. If you enjoyed this video, I'm trying to make more solo content on this channel, Lift Off with Aman Manazir. My background is that I quit my 6-figure software engineering job to make a $1 million business online in my 20s. And this channel is where I document and share the lessons for you to do the same. If you're interested in that, please subscribe and drop a comment for what I should talk about next. And if you want to hear about the time that I had to fire someone and it nearly destroyed my business, click this video over here. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.